There's some old school trains of thought that used to say, earn your carbs. And at the time when I first heard that, I was like, that's some terrible advice. It's going to create disordered eating, which of course it can. But also it actually makes a lot of sense. The more training you do, the more carbs you need. The less training you do, the less carbs you need. Because quite frankly, if you sat on a beach all day, you did nothing, you're retired, you sit on the beach, you just go for walks. You don't really even need carbohydrates. Yes, you still need a little bit because your brain actually prefers carbohydrates, but that's a whole nother story. But you could just have like 50 to 100 grams of carbohydrates, sit on the beach and eat avocados all day. You don't need a high level of carbohydrates to do nothing. Now, that also doesn't mean you can't eat. It means earn your carbs. We're not saying earn your food, it's earn your carbs. So in hindsight, it actually made a lot of sense. Think about it this way. If you are a runner, you go and you run 10 miles. That day, you clearly need more carbs than if you had a rest day, than if you ran 3 miles, and you need less carbs than if you ran 20 miles. So you, quite frankly, are going to bounce your carbohydrates around your training. And as a runner, you're actually going to bounce your nutrition overall, your caloric intake overall around your training. Because again, in that example, you need more calories to run 10 miles than you do to run 3 miles and then you do to do nothing. So you should still have a nice solid base calories. Even if your goal is weight loss, you should have a nice base of calories. Let's just say your base is 2,000, just for a random example here. So your base is 2,000. Now on a day you run 3 miles, maybe you eat that 2,000 calories. But then on a day you run 10 miles, maybe you're going to eat 2,700. Again, I just completely made this up. So this is specifically important for runners. This is specifically important for people who only do certain training on certain days. So if you're someone that only trains 3 days a week, for instance, you probably want to eat a little bit more on those days you train. Thank you to my dog Rogue over there for playing with her chew toy in the middle of my video here. Rogue. She's just hilarious. She had no interest in playing with that chew toy, but I do one take on these videos, so I'm not starting over and I'm not removing that from the video. She doesn't even like that toy. She literally doesn't even like that toy. I decided to edit that out because she was going a little bit crazy over there with the toy. So I'm going to try to keep my train of thought of where I was. So you need to make sure you actually are giving yourself the fuel you need on the day you need it. Now, also, you don't want to eat too little. I'm like contradicting myself here. You don't want to eat too little on your rest days because that's also not going to be good. You're not going to get that recovery you need. But specifically when you're looking to lose weight, looking to burn some fat, eating less on a rest day, because performance should be taking a back seat. If your goals are fat loss, performance takes a back seat. So therefore, you can get away with eating less on a rest day. Now, when performance is at the forefront, you're prepping for a race, a marathon, a half marathon, you don't want to eat less on your rest days because then you're not going to get that recovery in that you need. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically, the premise of this is earning your carbs actually makes a lot of sense if you don't view it as earn your calories. Don't view it as if I don't train, I don't eat. That's a terrible way to look at it. That's not what it means. You still have a base level of nutrition that you need. Actually, there's a very popular nutrition protocol. I'm not going to mention who they are because I disagree with some of the stuff they do. But they're a big, a templated nutrition company. Maybe that'll kind of tell you who they are. And that's actually kind of how they do everything. At least in their templates. I've never worked with them one-on-one, so don't let me say that's how they do everything. But they have your base. So what's called your base 1. That's actually kind of what they call it. Your base is 1. And then if you have a low intensity day, you get a multiplier of like 0.1. Then if you have a moderate intensity, day, you get a multiplier of 0.2. Then if you have a high intensity day, you get a modifier of 0.3. So that's actually, they're wildly successful. They get people absolutely shredded. I disagree with some things they do. I'm not going to mention who they are. But they're a templated nutrition company, if that helps you. But they've literally, they were big in the CrossFit space, big in the weightlifting space, and they do get people in phenomenal shape. So they use that premise as well, but you need to have a base level that you don't go below. You don't have to earn your food. You still get your food, but you just get more food if you do more training. It makes complete sense. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you want to hear about. Like, comment. I already said comment, subscribe, do some stuff. Share this with a friend, and I'll see you on the next one.